Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another of my director collections where I go through some of the editions I have for a certain director. Today we're going to go halfway mainstream, halfway art house, all the way from Mexico. It's Guillermo del Toro. Now, whether you like his films or you don't like his films, you have to like the man. He's one of those guys that kind of is a film fan first and a director second. Obviously he's maybe in some circles more famous for the film he didn't make than the films he has made. He was going to do The Hobbit before Peter Jackson ended up doing it and decided to make 3 films out of it, which was a huge mistake. But Del Toro, anytime you see him now, he might have a dark personal life. There's been so many people we thought were okay and then turns out they're monsters. But Del Toro, I don't think is that kind of person. He's one of those directors you would actually like to have over the house, show him a couple of films and just chat about films for 8 hours. So he's sort of like Tarantino and Nicholas Winding Refn, but actually bearable. You could actually have a conversation with him and get a word in edgeways. So he's done Hollywood mainstream stuff. It's still got his signature on it, and he's done films back in Mexico or Spain with actual subtitles. Bloomin' Edna. Now, I don't have Pacific Rim in the collection. It's okay, but I don't have it in the collection, which is a bit bizarre because you could probably get it for a penny in Blu-ray. And I don't have Nightmare Alley. I understand he was a huge fan of the original film with Tyrone Power, but again, I'm not really sure why you would bother remaking it. Obviously I adore The Third Man or Once Upon a Time in the West, but I wouldn't necessarily remake them if I had the opportunity. So I don't have those 2 films. Obviously he's working on a Frankenstein, or Frankenstein will be coming in because he's obsessed with monsters. But we'll start with what I think is his best film. For me, 2 best films, or these 2 films that you could argue are great, are both non-English language. So we have The Devil's Backbone. This is a Criterion Blu-ray, Region A Blu-ray from 2001. This is just absolutely exquisite. I mean, he is one of those, he's almost kind of like Jean-Pierre Jeunet in the fact that greens and yellows and browns, that kind of colour palette, blues, are integral in his films. He's almost like a low-key Bava, so his colours aren't as Bava bright, but he definitely has a colour palette that he likes and uses. Yeah, this is a ghost story set during the Spanish Civil War. It's absolutely beautiful. Federico Lippi is wonderful, who's also in another Del Toro film. It's just gorgeous and beautiful and powerful and poetic. So much so, here's the 4K of it, which looks even more powerful and poetic and beautiful. And it does have depth to it. It's not just a superficial ghost story. Just beautiful. And the great thing about Del Toro, he does do commentaries, and his commentaries are in the top 10 commentaries of all time. Again, he's just such a personable guy, plus he's self-depreciatory, which I love in filmmakers. There's nothing worse than a filmmaker who thinks he's all that. But he actually won a Best Picture Oscar, The Shape of Water, which you wouldn't think was possible. Again, obviously, colour palette. I've only watched this a couple of times. It's not actually one of my favourites. I don't know whether that says something about the fact it won the Best Picture. I don't know. Obviously still a wonderful film. Michael Shannon gives a fantastic performance. Sally Hawkins, Octavia Spencer's in it, Doug Jones obviously plays the fish, Richard Jenkins, Michael Stuhlbarg. It's a wonderful period piece again. He does like his period pieces. Speaking of period pieces, now this might be the film that everybody, well not everybody, but most people would say it is his best film. I mean, I disagree, but that's just me. This is Pan's Labyrinth on 4K. Again, set during wartime. You do get a Blu-ray as well. About a little girl in the fantasy world she finds. I do think showing her at the start in a certain condition does kind of undermine it a little bit, but that's just me. Wonderful creature design, but again, this is not his best film as far as I'm concerned, even though this is the one that appears in all the lists as his best film. Still a very good film, and again, he does a commentary, which is wonderful. And then more of his mainstream stuff. So this is the Blade trilogy. So he did Blade 2, which might be the best Blade. Granted, the best Blade is still not, you know, that much of a claim to fame. It is, yeah, they do get a disc each, even though they're just housed in two. Ron Perlman, who has made an appearance in another Del Toro film. Yeah, it's fun. It's a Blade film. That's as much as you can say. The same with Hellboy. Not a huge fan of the Hellboy films. Again, they're good, they're fun, but compared to his non-English language films, there's a bit of a gap between his English language films and his non-English language films, for me at least. Yeah, Hellboy again, Ron Perlman, and Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. He never got to do Hellraiser. A Del Toro Hellraiser would be fun. Hellboy 2, he never got to do Hellboy 3. Again with Ron Perlman. I don't know why he just didn't let him do Hellboy 3. And then Mimic, the film that he had such a bad experience on that he went back and made a non-English language film, which just as well had a bad experience. This was script altered a little bit by John Sayles. Again, this has got a Del Toro commentary. This is the director's cut. I mean, again, it's a fun little monster movie. Mia Sorvino, before she got blacklisted. Jennifer Northam, Josh Brolin's in it, if you actually remember, before he was a star. F. Murray Abraham and Charles Dutton. It's a fun little bug movie, but again, his commentary in this is absolutely wonderful because he goes into detail about why it all went wrong. Just wonderful. And then Crimson Peak. This is a nice steelbook. I think Arrow have just released this on 4K. It does have Tom Hiddleston, who I'm not a big fan of, but he's alright in this. And Jessica Chastain, who's essentially the female Michael Fassbender, with being in every third film, and Mia Wasikowski. That's not her name. Yeah, the production design in this looks absolutely beautiful. It's a really good film. Again, not his best, but fun. And then Pinocchio. Yeah, this was an absolute treat. This is the 4K on Criterion. You do get a Blu-ray with it from 2022. Spine number 1201. This is just an absolutely gorgeous art style. Stop motion, and it's just a gorgeous film. It's a really interesting reworking. There's Pinocchio's nose. Well, let's hope it's his nose. And then the double discs. And the lovely booklet. It's an absolutely beautiful film. It's actually quite moving. I actually was going to show the family this, but I did get it pretty much not that long after my mum's death, so probably wouldn't have been a good idea, because it is quite moving and it is about loss a lot. Yeah, just an absolutely beautiful film. Kind of resets the bar for Pinocchio adaptations. Ewan McGregor, who I'm not a fan of, Kate Blanchett, who I'm not a fan of, Tilda Swinton and Christoph Waltz. Just absolutely beautiful. If you think you know Pinocchio, you don't know this Pinocchio. Beautiful film. And then for me, his second best film, or the second great film that he's made, Kronos, his debut. Again, his debut's Go. This is pretty fantastic, from 1993. Again, starring Federico Lupi, who was also in John Sayles' Men with Guns, what I might have mentioned before. This, very much like Pinocchio, this is kind of a complete reworking of the vampire mythos. It's actually this little device with a creature inside it. But this film is more than just a reworking of a vampire tale. It's all about different forms of vampirism, industrial, capitalistic vampirism. Again, Del Toro goes into detail in the commentary about Mexico and the changes in Mexico, the increase in capitalism, consumerism. Ron Perlman is in this as well. Yeah, Lupe stars as this antiques dealer who comes across this device, but an industrialist scumbag wants it, and Ron Perlman's his son. It's just, again, another beautiful film. This is the Region A Blu-ray, but quite recently BFI released this beautiful 4K box, which is just gorgeous, because it's a film that really deserves more exposure, because it's absolutely beautiful. And you do get a very nice booklet. Again, it has black humour, but this production design, again, the colour scheme, you do get a big poster as well, which I'm not showing you the actual front of. Obviously there'll be a standard edition coming out at some point. That's the 4K, absolute stacked with extras. Again, you get a Blu-ray as well, which you don't always get with some 4K releases, and you get some art cards, but the extras are just absolutely stunning. The 4K, there's a new commentary by Jason Wood, and there's the 2002 commentary with Del Toro, and there's a commentary with producers, but who listens to producer commentaries, to be fair. There's an optional original Spanish language voiceover introduction, and there's a 34-minute piece by Del Toro from 2024 who revisits it. It's absolutely wonderful, because again, Del Toro's just a guy you could listen to all day long talking about films. Geometra from 1987, revised in 2010, 7 minutes. It's a short film about Del Toro. And then we've got a 7-minute piece on Del Toro talking about Geometra. And then from 2017 there's a 74-minute BFI talk with Del Toro at the BFI London Film Festival with Mark Salisbury. There's a making of Kronos from 2003 with Federico Lupi, 5 minutes. There's an interview with the director from 2010, which is 60 minutes. And there's another interview from 2010 in conversation for 18 minutes. There's an interview with the DP, Guillermo Navarro, from 2010, which is 13 minutes. And there's an interview from 2010 with Ron Perlman, which is 7 minutes. Plus you get a trailer. That's the deciding factor in the box set. You get the trailer. So Kronos is just gorgeous. It's well worth revisiting. To me, he's made two great films, Kronos and Devil's Backbone. But his batting average is pretty high. But as I said, whether you think he's good or bad, I think we can agree that he's a lovely human being, even if he could maybe lose a few pounds, but couldn't we all? So thanks very much for watching. Please let me know what Del Toro films you think are his best, or your favourite Del Toro films, and should I buy Pacific Rim for a penny? And hopefully you'll join me again for more director collections. This is Saul Chironin from Saul Chironin Films, saying farewell